Mobil 1 The Grid gets under starters orders with Formula One as we meet back-to-back world champion Max Verstappen. In a stellar season, Oracle Red Bull Racing's Dutch ace retained his F1 driver's title with 4 rounds to spare. Over the past 7 years, he has made the team founded by the late Dietrich Mateschitz his home.
I started, of course, with them back at Toro Rosso already, being in the Red Bull family, but then I moved to Red Bull. And when I first walked into the factory, there were quite a few people still who worked with my dad as well. So that's, of course, very nice to see. And throughout the years, you get to know a lot of people within the team even better. And I can be myself, which I think is very important. You need to be happy as well with what you're doing. Also, the motivation in the team, everyone really wants to win. And that mentality is there every single year. For me, there is no reason to change. I already said that last year, and that's why we also signed a new deal. So I hope I can drive for Red Bull for a long time, hopefully till the end of my career.
Since the team first arrived in F1 in 2005, they've had a reputation for doing things differently. But whenever underestimated, the F1 grid has been left in the dust of the Red Bulls.
It's important to have fun. Of course, we want to win. We're very focused on winning, but you need to also have fun in your life. We've had a lot of crazy activities, but that also defines Red Bull. You don't see that in other teams, and probably they're a bit afraid to do that. But that's what defines Red Bull, these kind of things. And some things are pretty crazy, but we enjoy doing them.
This year, Verstappen has been faced with a couple of interesting watery challenges, most recently on foiling catamarans on the French Riviera and back in March piloting a swamp buggy in Florida.
I'd never seen anything like it, and I'd never heard of it with these kind of cars, but I had a lot of fun. These engines had a lot of power as well. And it was actually quite nice to handle once you got going and you had a bit of speed. The sail GP boats, they were a lot of fun, and what I like to see was the communication also, because there are more people on the boat, right, who have to steer it, and because I'm alone in the car, it depends on me what I'm doing. But there it's like proper teamwork on the boat, so it was a good experience.
Back on dry land, Verstappen may be alone in the cockpit, but his team has been almost faultless this season, building an incredible car, making the best calls and leaving no stone unturned in the hunt for victories.
It's a whole team effort to win races, and that is decided on the pit wall. It's decided with doing pit stops, and the last few years we've been incredibly strong on that, and this year again it gave us race wins, so we have to always be on top of that every year to try and make sure that you do better. And of course with these new rule changes as well, the tires, they change quite a lot, so also for the pit crew there was a lot of practice involved to get the best out of them.
He's only just turned 25 and has broken the record for race wins in a season with 14 already this term. The team ethos plainly matches his prodigious talent, and there'll be no respite for the rest of the grid anytime soon.
Motivation was always the same. I always want to do the best I can, and it doesn't matter if you haven't won anything yet or you've won a lot. I always go to the track to try and just get the best out of myself. And if I don't, I will always try to find answers why I didn't, and that's how I operate. Of course, I signed until 28, so I definitely see myself driving for this team for a long time. I think at the time I will be 31, and then I'll make my mind up what I'm going to do, if I'm going to stay in F1 in general. I don't know, but I just hope for a lot of fun in the coming years.
Time now for a 1,500-kilometre raid into the North African desert.
Morocco was the setting for the penultimate round of the Rally Raid World Championship. Points leader in the T1 car class was 9-time World Rally Champion Sébastien Loeb in a Pro-Drive Hunter, who'd be battling with the Toyotas of Nasser Al-Attiyah and Yacine Al-Raji. Also prowling through the service park were the all-electric e-tron Audis competing in the open class, and a fleet of bikes amongst the 7 categories taking on the Rally du Maroc. After a short super special around Agadir, Leg 1 proper saw the teams head south to Tantan. And it was a 1-2 finish for the Toyotas, with Saudi driver Al-Raji taking the stage win and the rally lead.
Sure, it's a tough day for everybody, but we manage, me and Derek, we do a great job, and not easy also navigation and stony, but we try our best also tomorrow to keep the lead.
The next day, Sébastien Loeb went fastest, completing the 300-kilometre course in just under 3 hours. With only a 1-point lead over Qatari rival Al-Attiyah in the championship standings, it was a promising sign for the Frenchman.
It was a super day. Obviously we were disappointed yesterday, but today we took over the rally lead. It's great, but there's a long way to go, and I'm happy to be where we are.
Leg 3 was the southernmost point of the rally, and after losing time with punches the previous day, Alitaia was back to his best, going fastest in his Toyota Hilux. While Guerlain Chichery, making his debut in the Pro Drive Hunter, now led the T1 category overall, Alitaia had his eye on championship points.
Today was a good day. I'm quite happy, to win the stage and to take 5 points, for the championship. But okay, we need to work very hard tomorrow and after tomorrow at least to be in the podium.
The penultimate stage was the longest of the week and saw Rally GP rider Toby Price crash in the dust. The Australian had to be airlifted to hospital, and though he was okay, his rally was over. Back in the T1 car category, it was a disastrous day for Loeb, who suffered a steering failure and was forced to retire. Yacine Al-Raji took his second stage win ahead of Chichery and Alitaia with just the 5th leg left to run. The final day's action saw the competitors race north along Morocco's Atlantic coast back to Agadir, and American Skylar Howe secured top honours in the Rally GP bike class, while in T1, Loeb returned to form with his second stage victory. But his retirement the previous day meant that Alataia's podium finish gave him the championship lead ahead of the final event in Spain. Winner of the event, though, was Guerlain Chichery. His brand new Pro Drive Hunter running on biofuel had carried the Frenchman to a surprise victory.
We done the last day. They really wanted to stay focused until the last meters of the finish line, and that's what we did. Alex made an amazing job, to be honest. He started to get the confidence with the speed of the cars, and I trust him a lot.
2 weeks later, Loeb fought hard to beat Alitaia in Andalusia, but the Qatari and co-driver Mathieu Baumel were crowned Rally Raid World Champions by 20 points. Attention now turns to the 2023 Dakar, where the Toyota pair will look to defend their title in Rally Raid's biggest race.
Next, we meet the race engineer bringing the thunder down under.
Experienced race engineer Adam de Borre has worked alongside Chaz Mostert, plotting his rise through the Australian Supercar ranks for almost a decade.
I've been working with Chaz now for 9 years. It's a unique chemistry or bromance or whatever you want to call it. I can read his body language quite well. I understand his personality quite well. Even though we're chalk and cheese different, we somehow seem to click.
A forensic attention to detail has secured 20 race wins and 2 Bathurst 1000 victories, making the Walkinshaw Andretti United duo one of the most successful partnerships on the grid.
To be honest, I couldn't really see me racing the championship with any other engineer. We get each other. We've got such great history together. He gives me 110% to try and win a race, as I do for him. And I think when you get a partnership like that with an engineer and driver, great things can happen.
Chaz and I discuss and go through the event plan and formulate how we're going to attack the upcoming event, practice sessions, qualifying races, what are the curveballs that we need to think about. We start loading him up with onboard video, data, and then after track walk, make sure that we're happy with how we're going to roll out and really not try to overload him that night so that he can have a clear mind for when he starts in the car in practice one.
Practice sessions are an important opportunity to work on the Holden Commodore setup, but the engineer's role is to fine-tune his driver as well.
Tuning the car and running the weekend is only part of the role that I do. So keeping Chaz abreast of the relative information that affects him. He's in the car, he doesn't have all the data. So he'll look at his position on a timesheet when we give him the tablet, so he knows exactly where we are, when we're strong, when we're weak.
Okay buddy, check the flag, check the flag. Finished up P11 in that one, mate.
If he sees we're P18 or P19, but we haven't run decent tyres at this point in time, he might go, oh, well, we need to do a really big change, when actually we only need something small.
In the race, telemetry from the Commodore's sensors allows the engineer to pass on vital strategy updates.
We get a lot of information and data coming back from the car. Some of that is timing information, and then we have our software that interprets that and helps us work out where we're strong, weak, cars are catching, we're pulling away. Some of the key things that I look at is his acceleration rate of his throttle pedal, how smooth or how aggressive he can be.
There's no tyre, man. The tyre is useless.
And if he's too aggressive, I generally tell him to calm it down, to look after the tyres.
Don't worry, buddy. Back off, please. Back off. Bring it in, please.
Keeping him informed and communicating with him constantly is the main part of the driver management and the driver psychology that we have to deal with.
They say opposites attract, and the pair's relationship over the radio continues when they're back in the garage.
Chaz is a unique individual. He's got a few quirks, from his ridiculous sunglasses to loud socks to silly hair, many different things over the years. It's probably a little bit more touchy-feely than I'd like, but apparently I give him good luck when he gives me a bear hug, so we'll keep up with that for now.
Me and Adam's relationship evolves very quickly, week in, week out, changes each week. So it's kind of like a love-hate relationship. I'd really love to give him a championship because I know how much effort he puts in behind the scenes. So we're still striving for that one.
A decade of experience as Mostert's right-hand man might yet bring a Supercars championship, but for now, victory is the ultimate reward.
When you're leading from lap 1 and you're just managing the situation, it's rewarding to get the win, but it's a different feeling because you're controlling the situation and you've got to make sure that you don't overthink it and make the mistake.
One is over. Quickly.
We've been in both situations where we've come from behind or we've led from the front. Winning's winning, it's always fantastic to do, but you know, you get different feelings depending on the circumstance that you find yourself in.
What a day. What a day. Great job.
We catch up with Corvette now on their first world tour in the WEC.
Corvette Racing began their first World Endurance Championship campaign on familiar ground, finishing second in the 1,000 miles of Sebring. For Nick Tandy and Tommy Milner, it's been a chance to test the mid-engine C8R against the world's best manufacturers.
I think what's special about WEC is the fact that we are racing all over the world. It is a world championship. That's a pretty unique thing. I've been racing in the US for so long now on the same racetracks for so many years, and I know where everything is on the racetrack. I know where everything is outside of the racetrack. So it's been exciting for me to have a new challenge.
We want to show this awesome race car that we've had running in IMSA for a couple of years. We want to show it to as many people as possible. We want to race it in front of as many people as possible and give the opportunity for the people in Europe, the people in Japan, all around the world, the chance to see us race and hopefully come and support us.
With 2 decades of success in North America behind them, the IMSA champions would travel the world in the FIA's flagship endurance series. And for the 12-year veteran Milner, it's been a new experience.
There are little differences in procedures and rules and things like that. Some of the strategy stuff is a little bit different from IMSA, and it's a big change for the crew and for the team to get set up to work out of realistically 2 40-foot containers as opposed to 2 massive 18-wheelers. So from that side, those guys have had to do a lot more work than we have as drivers.
Victory at Monza in round 4 of the series was good reason to celebrate. For Tandy, competing on classic tracks in endurance races is what he loves and what he does best.
There is an added pressure knowing that you're the one for 2 hours at a time, 3 hours at a time in control of this car and all these people's dreams and effectively their destinies. But when you're getting ready to get in the car, whether it's in the middle of the night, start of the race, this is what gets me up in the morning, this is what gets me going, and this is effectively what I live for.
A Le Mans winner with Porsche, Tandy joined the Detroit squad last season and scored valuable points in their clean sweep of the IMSA titles.
When Nick joined us last year, I didn't think that there was much that I needed to help him with, but there is obviously that transition period for him. It's a new team. There's always that uncertainty of who do you go to for a problem. So from that side, I can guide him along of who to talk to and where to go for certain things.
Of course, the drivers, we spend a lot of time together talking about other stuff other than just racing. But coming in when you've got such an experienced set of teammates, it makes the transition so much smoother.
The Britain's role this season has been an important one, using his experience to help his American teammate with some of the trickier circuits on the WEC calendar.
I'm probably one of the most experienced guys on the whole team from a World Endurance Championship point of view. I've raced a series a couple of times in the past. You know, Tommy is a long-time top professional, but there's a few tracks that he hasn't been to that are on this calendar.
Spa was a challenge for sure. With every racetrack, there's always little tricks that you learn over the years of certain bumps in the racetrack and certain places in the past that you've found time.
From a driving point of view, I can maybe add a little bit of insight, but it's also things like the operational side, going to these new tracks. The team asked me for anything I can add, maybe some pitfalls that we can avoid. Any sort of experience coming into these new races that the team has never been to before, it adds an extra element.
The season finale in Bahrain marks the end of the WEC's GTE Pro Class and Tandy's final race with the team. As Corvette shift priorities towards a universal GT3 category, the pressure is on to end the era on a high.
We're racing at the highest level of sports car racing and doing that all over the world. We are collectively here to do the same thing and to do it as well as we possibly can. The sports car racing paddock is like a traveling community and a bit more friendly in that sense, where everybody is here to help everybody else until it comes time to go racing on the racetrack, and then it's, all bets are off.
Time now to head on to the grid.
We begin our selection of the top moments from October with the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship, which concluded with the 10-hour classic Petit Le Mans at Road Atlanta. And in the last race of the DPI era, the two Ganassi Cadillacs of Renger van der Zande and Earl Bamber collided with less than an hour to go, sending them both into the gravel and into boss Chip Ganassi's bad books. Winners of the race were Tom Blomqvist, Oliver Jarvis and Elio Castroneves in the number 60 Meyer-Shank Acura, which also made Blomqvist and Jarvis the 2022 champions. Meanwhile, remember this from May? Ex-Formula One driver Marcus Ericsson winning the Indy 500 on a slightly happier day for Chip Ganassi. Well, long after the milk had soured, the engravers were finally ready with the Borg Warner trophy, engraved with Ericsson's face. He's only the second Swede to adorn the silverware since Kenny Breck back in 1999, and his whole crew joined him for the celebration. Also in October, the World Rally Championship made its long-awaited return to New Zealand after a 10-year absence. After spectacular crashes for Gus Greensmith in his M Sport Ford and the Toyota of Elvin Evans, it was his Finnish teammate Kalle Rovanperä who won the rally. It was his 6th of the season, and with maximum points on the final power stage, the 22-year-old became the youngest ever WRC champion with 2 rounds remaining. His co-driver Jonne Halttunen also claimed a maiden world title. At the Nürburgring, Porsche brand ambassador Jörg Bergmeister was busy setting a record time on the Nordschleife in the new Porsche 911 GT3 RS. The time was more than 10 seconds faster than the current 911 GT3. The German ace completed the 20.8-kilometre circuit in 6 minutes 49.3 seconds. The NASCAR playoffs were in full swing in October as they looked to whittle the field down to the final 4 championship contenders. But the headlines instead went to this coming together between Kyle Larson and Bubba Wallace at Las Vegas. Both were already out of the playoff reckoning when Bubba's retaliatory wreck of the 2021 champion and subsequent fisticuffs on the infield led him to be the first driver benched for dangerous driving since Matt Kenseth back in 2015. Caught up in that wreck was championship contender Christopher Bell, but 2 weeks later the Joe Gibbs driver secured his place in the Final 4 anyway, the victory at Martinsville. Behind him, Ross Chastain accelerated around the wall and around Denny Hamlin to book his place in the showdown, alongside Bell, Joey Logano and Chase Elliott. What an extraordinary piece of driving.
To end today, we take a closer look at an NHRA Top Fuel dragster with TSR Nitro.
My name is Leah Pruett, and I am the driver of the Power Brokers Top Fuel Dragster in the NHRA Camping World Series. This right here is one of the quickest accelerating machines in the world. It goes 0 to 335 miles an hour in just about 3.6 seconds. This wing right here at over 250 miles an hour will carry about 2,500 pounds of downforce. We adjust that according to atmospheric temperatures as well as what the track temp is and drivability for where we're at. The left wheel is actually staggered 2 inches farther than our right wheel over here. This is something that's been in drag racing for decades. That's really because in the stage beams, you're always gonna have your left torque come up forward. That's gonna give you a better ET. It's not so great for reaction time, but that allows the car to move forward before the last tire rolls out from the beams, giving us a better elapsed time. My cockpit is very simple in here. I have a butterfly steering wheel. I really should never be driving down the track at more than a 10 and a 2. Parachute levers are here on my right side, so when I go and push my parachutes forward, then I have my brake and I pull on back. Our command module right here for our timing systems hooked into our clutch actuators, and then our recording system with race pack. Looks very nice and neat right here, but there's actually 52 different pickup channels connected to the race car. RPM, your EGTs, your pan pressure, your blower pressure, your boost, your fuel pressures, front wheel speed, rear wheel speed, tire temp. We've got a lot to look at in a very short amount of time. As we move to our hot topic here, which is our major, massive Dodge power plant. What you're looking at is a 500 cubic inch forged aluminum block that makes over 12,000 horsepower. This is a 1471 screw supercharger, makes about 50 to 60 pounds of boost. So you're cramming that into this V8 Hemi, putting out massive header flames, which are so freaking cool to see as a fan, over 10 feet tall when you run at night. Our driveline is a 6-disc clutch. The key to applying 12,000 horsepower to a racetrack to go 330 plus miles an hour is managing that power, and all of that power gets managed in the bell housing. As we move to the back, you can see we have very aerodynamic tubes for the wing. This is what the air sees, right? And we are able to change the elements of the wing dependent upon, of course, track temperature, atmospheric temperature, and it can hold about 7,000 to 8,000 pounds of downforce on that rear wing. So that right there is a very short version of 12,000 horsepower top fuel dragster. We'll see you later.
Next time, we catch up with World Rally's youngest ever champion and look back on a fast and furious 2022. We'll see you then on Mobil 1 The Grid.